In 2020, I designed a 117-page expansion for D&D 5th edition. It was just something for me and my friends to play, something to make the game a bit more exciting. And after years of playing, one of my friends said to me, "There's enough here. It could be its own game." Flash forward to 4 long years later, and the summit is finally in view. What if there was more customization? What if you weren't stuck to a single class? What if you could respond? What if you could design spells on the spot? What if there was no maximum life spells on the spot? What if there was a game where you could play anything, be anybody, no limitations, no questions asked? I'm happy to finally say it. Welcome to Utopia. Just a heads up, if you'd like to play the Utopia TTRPG prototype for free, link is in the description. If you have any questions, confirmed patches, and really smart people are in the Discord. Also, link in the description. If you're interested in learning how to play, the card in the corner and the link below. Okay. Offering something like casting any spell you can think of is a pretty big claim to make. What does it take to craft any spell that you can imagine? What are the limitations? What are the costs? In Utopia, spellcraft is broken into 8 different arts. In order to cast a spell, you must know every single art the spell requires. For instance, if I wanted to cast an illusion that lasts for a day, I'd need to know 2 arts, enchantment and illusion. As well, I need to be innately powerful enough to cast a spell like this. This is expressed in the way of a spell cap. Basically, this is the amount of energy I can exert in a single spell, even if I have enough energy to cast it 3 times over. With this in mind, let's dive deep into how to cast customized spells in Utopia TTRPG. It's not essential, but it's very helpful to understand the anatomy of a spell before getting too far down the rabbit hole. We'll break a spell into 3 parts: the maw, the throat, and the wake. The maw of the spell is the only one that has to exist in order for the spell to function. Without diving too deeply into the lore, spells use the aether as a form of transportation to get to their destination. The destination can be another plane, another dimension, or even the aether itself. So essentially, what a spell is going to do is poke a hole into the aether with a message attached to it. The message may say, find your way to the plane of fire and grab some of it. It'll make its way to the elemental plane with a route in mind, grab some fire, use its initial path to make its way back, and then boom, cooked goblin. However, even with this, a spell with only a maw can only be cast at melee distance. There's an exception here. The maw can travel up to 1 meter through a solid medium. This medium can be the ground, it can be through the edge of your sword, even through a wall. If we want to extend the range, we need a throat. The throat of the spell is like a string leading from you to the origin of the spell. A throat can be as long as the caster wishes within their power levels, whether that be a 1 meter throat or a 1 kilometer throat. Finally, we have a wake. If we're imagining a hole leading to the aether, consider the wake a funnel leading into that. It's as if you're bending an area of reality around it, creating a larger space for the spell to exist. This allows for spells to have an area of effect rather than a single target. Speaking of that, how do we give a spell these features? If you were to peer through the Magecraft tree, you'd see 8 talents that say you can cast and craft using the art of blank. These are called arcane arts. There's actually 10 in total, but the first core guide of Utopia TTRPG will only be showcasing 8 of them. Every spell requires 1 or more of these arcane arts, and each art allows the spell to take on different features. They go as follows. Evocation allows you to conjure elemental energy and matter, as well as substance called magi matter, which is essentially clay. If a spell does any type of elemental damage or summons anything, it'll need evocation. Array is what produces the spell's throat. It'll be required if we want to cast anything at range. The Art of Wake does what we described before, allowing the spell to have an AoE instead of a single target. This is true for all features of the spell, unless they don't apply. Enchantment is what gives the spell its duration. Now, the prototype doesn't say this because of a typo. You can concentrate on a spell without enchantment to give it a longer duration. While concentrating, you can't react to attacks or make attacks, nor cast any other spells. Enchantment allows you to upgrade this to Focus, in which you can do all of those things, or pay a little extra just to make the spell last for a certain amount of time, no questions asked. Next up is a fan favorite, Necromancy. Necromancy deals a lot with the aether, as that's where all the souls reside. You can use this art to rip people's souls out, as well as put them back in. This will come really in handy for when we talk about body swapping later. This can also be used to animate things. Furniture, trees, armor, golems, things of that nature. Or any nature, really. Illusion is a form of sensory magic. It allows people to turn invisible, force them to feel certain things, see certain things, or just not see at all. As well, this is your main method for psyche damage. Divination is a surveying art, allowing you to gather information. You have options like augury, asking a question with a yes or no answer via something like a coin flip and being given an accurate answer. Don't worry, GMs, I heard you cringing, there are ways out of this. Every divination response has a null option. And you can slap a divination nullifier on your big bosses to prevent circumnavigation. I hold you deep in my heart, so you poor forever GMs. Divination also allows you fun abilities, like points of favor against things you have clairvoyance on, and making your rolls better versus knowing what they'll be beforehand. And finally, perhaps one of the most powerful, alteration. Alteration is a huge talent, offering things ranging from alchemy to transmutation to polymorph effects to even telekinesis. Honestly, if you're changing something or moving something, it's probably alteration. It even includes healing magic. And that's all the talents in the core guide. Each of these have sets of features that you can add to a spell. You don't have to craft your own spells. If you want to just cast the core spell Fire Strike, you can, as long as you have a spell cap of 12 or higher and the evocation and array arts. But in case you do, here's how you do it. Before we get there though, I want to let you know, if you have any questions about this kind of thing, make sure to join the Discord. There's tons of people ready and willing to answer questions, and often they're very knowledgeable about the system. The prototype manuscript that's in the description has some typos and errors and things, and you can find patch notes in the Discord as well. Moreover, things like the custom species guide is there, updates on custom creatures, things like that. If any of that sounds interesting, it's below this video. As well, if you'd like to pre-order the game, you can get an exclusive virtual copy or an exclusive hard copy, support the project on Kickstarter. Late pledges are supported, but there's a discount before then, so make sure to take advantage. Okay, let's build a fireball that'll consume the planet. I have 3 spells in mind to show how far we can take this spell system. The first one is a body swap, which can also be used as a janky form of teleportation. The second one is a trap of sorts, essentially a sigil on the ground that, once stepped on, will force somebody directly into the ground, preventing them from moving or standing. And the final one is a fireball that literally deals damage to the entire planet. Ready? Well, don't be too ready. We need to talk about spell cap. A lot of these spells will require a really high spell cap, so keep that in mind. Your spell cap is based on your resolve score. If you have a spell cap of 7, you can't spend more than 7 stamina on a single spell. However, some items and talents will give you a discount on this cost. For instance, a spellbook gives you a 2 stamina discount when holding it in one hand. This means that you can actually cast spells that cost up to 9, since you'd only pay 7 stamina, which is within your spell cap. There are talents like In Tune and Enlightened that increase your spell cap, but I'll let you find those for yourself. With that in mind, let's body swap. This one is easier with prep time, but not impossible without. Let's say that both we and the body we've chosen to swap with are at exactly 1 DHP only, meaning we're just on the cusp of death. Using the necromancy feature Sever, we can deal up to 1d4 damage directly to DHP. Sever costs 80 power points. When we finish this spell, we'll add up all of the power points and divide the total by 10. This will give us our final stamina cost. We're going to have to do it for both us and the chosen body, so we'll have to add a feature that gives us 2 targets. In the Art of Array, there's a feature called Twin Cast, which allows the spell to have a second maw and thus a second target. This feature costs 100 power points. However, since the effects don't naturally duplicate, we'll have to pay for an additional stack of Sever. We're now up to 260 power points or 26 stamina. As it stands, this spell will just kill both of us. However, Sever specifically states that it can't bring us below 0 DHP, meaning both bodies are still actively capable of resurrection. One final feature, the Resurrect feature in Necromancy. This feature will essentially allow us to shunt a chosen soul into a chosen body. We'll target our own soul and the chosen body. Resurrect costs 1 stamina per level for the new body. Assuming the new body is level 10, that'll put us at 36 stamina to swap bodies using the Art of Array and Necromancy. And we're done. Now you have a new body. The next one will be even simpler. In order to make a spell trapped, per se, we'll need to use the delay function in enchantment. This costs 10 power points per hour of delay, and we only need it for 1 hour. After 1 hour, however, if the trap isn't triggered, the spell will fizzle out. Delay allows us to set a trigger of some type to activate the spell. We'll use the trigger of stepping on it, and we'll target the person who did. We'll also want it to last for about a minute, so let's add a single stack of Continuum for 80 power points, setting us to 90. This is the effect from enchantment that makes a spell last without any input from the caster. No focusing or anything, it just lasts for 1 minute. Okay, and finally, telekinetic force from the art of alteration. This is basically telekinesis, but we can use this to put a constant force on a creature. We have to decide what X is for this feature, and we're going to use 20, making this 200 power points and leaving us at 290. With an X of 20, this is stating that as long as our target is 200 kilograms or less, it will be telekinetically dragged in a direction we choose, down, for the duration of the spell, 1 minute. It can make a strength test against our will score to break free, but that's fine. The important thing is that we gain some extra time, and they'll take some damage on the way out. We can move something telekinetically based on our will score. If our will score is 10 meters per second. If we shove a creature into a flat surface fast enough, they'll take kinetic force damage. This type of damage ignores defenses and ignores SHP, so it's really strong. And at 290 power points, this gravity trap will cost us 29 stamina. And you can use this as long as you have enchantment, alteration, and a spell cap of 29 or higher. That's it. Okay, it's time. Let's make the really big fireball. In order to target everything on the planet, we'll need a huge wake. Earth has a radius of 6,378,137 meters, and its atmosphere will reach out about another 100,000. The feature of wake that we'll need is called spherical fulminate, and it costs 100x power points. Essentially, the radius we're looking for times 100. Well, let's slap 2 zeros on the back. That gives us 647,813,700 power points so far. Now, unless we plan on burrowing down to the core of the Earth, we'll need to use a ray to cast it at far enough range, likely from the crust of the Earth. Our initial radius should be the perfect distance, since that's how far we are from the core, hypothetically. The Throw 4 feature costs 1,200 power points per kilometer of additional range, so we can plug that in, and that's another 7,654,800 power points tacked on. So in order to target everything on and around the Earth, that's a total of 65,546,850 stamina. And that's not even the best part. Now we add instant elemental to this for a back-breaking 2 stamina, and every single thing on the planet will be dealt 1d4 heat damage at the same time. That's like touching everything ever with a lit match, all at once, but only a little bit. You tell me what the effects of that are. Utopia is designed for customization, but to an extent that you can pick up and teach to friends with a bit of ease. The system shouldn't be super encumbering to learn, especially in reference to how much you can do. There are some lore rules in the system that are preventing you from doing things like teleporting, enlarging or shrinking, and time travel. Not to say that you never will. I mean, there's 2 more arts we didn't even talk about, and mini expansions in the future. Stay creative and tell me about your ideas. The prototype is free to download below. Be aware of typos, there's a lot of things that still need to be changed, but it is completely playable. There will be customizable species soon in that prototype, so get ready for that. And if you want to pre-order a copy of Utopia or support the project's development, link below to do so on the Kickstarter. And of course, thanks.